What's going on, people? Welcome to One More Watch, Please. Today, we have the pleasure of interviewing the founder of E.Stohlman Watches, Eugene. Uh, E.Stohlman Watches is known for making amazing vintage style watches with modern craftsmanship. So, without further ado, let's find everything about E.Stohlman Watches uh, from the founder itself. Hey, Eugene, welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
I'm doing just fine. How about yourself?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good.
Good.
Had a
Good
first
talking
day
to you
back at
again.
work, so a lot of catching up on emails and stuff. Nothing major.
Always emails. Emails are always it's first thing every day, and then you check it again at night. It's always coming in.
Yeah, definitely. How was your day?
I was quite busy packing up a whole bunch of packages. You know, sitting at the bench getting work done, building watches, whole bunch of fun stuff.
Nice, nice. At least you're doing something that you're passionate about.
Hey, that is a blessing and a curse. Sometimes you get tired of doing the thing you love. So every once in a while, you just sit there going, I'm here again. I love it, but I hate it so much. So, yeah, it is fun though.
Cool. Why don't you start telling the viewers something about your background and how did you get into watchmaking?
Sure. So, I mean, I've been full time in watchmaking for over a decade now. Um, I basically, out of college, I would highlight at my uncle's grandfather's jewelry store. They were both watchmakers, and I would work there during the summers or in between jobs. And I decided, I was like, man, this is fun. I'm good at it. So then I think 2014, I decided to actually go to school, pretty much knowing nothing about the industry and how it works. So I went to Gym City College out in Quincy, Illinois, and they do a very good job at teaching you at your speed and basically the vintage way of watchmaking. So if you want to learn pocket watches, if you want to learn Accutrons, they don't really go into a lot of the modern stuff. So I got to learn that later on after I got out of school there. I went to AWCI, I took a whole bunch of their courses, and then went to Omega, where I passed the Omega training to be able to be Omega certified, and so that's kind of where I am now. Um, and then so after doing all that, going back working at my uncle's shop, uh, he wanted to move more into doing clocks and jewelry, and I was like, I like watches too much to really just do other stuff. So that's when um, I got it with my current business partner and was like, hey, let's do, you know, um, building warranty stuff. Let's really go all in on that. And, I'll train watchmakers up here so we don't, go into bad, uh, oh, what's the word I'm looking for? Um, hmm, words escaping right now. Bad habits. That's what I'm looking for. Get watchmakers that don't already have bad habits, or starting, to really train them how I'm looking for them to do it. And after having my own business for a while, everyone, as a watchmaker, always asks you, "So you're a watchmaker? Where's your watch?" And I was like, you know, I hadn't really thought about it. And then basically a year and a half ago, I was like, hey, I really want to get into this. I like to design things a little bit different than what I've been originally into. And there's nothing really on the market that I'm like, that's where I want to be, except for like super expensive stuff. So I wanted to get kind of that luxury dress watch area, but not blow things out of the water. And since I know the watchmaker, I have a little bit of a sway in how much he charges for things too. So
Yeah.
That's kind of how I got started doing E.Stohlman.
Yeah, and I think your dials in particular is something that draw my attention to the brand, and I thought like I need to speak to this guy and
I
find out
appreciate
more
that.
about the brand.
Yeah. So I mean, I dials. I really love proportional stuff. So the uh, day and date being where they are and not overbearing on one side or the other, and kind of doing a little more interesting things either with levels or like how the stepped dial or sunburst dial, stone dials, something that I'm working on currently. Um, I think really gives it kind of a new, fresh look, but also being a little bit more vintage style. So
Yeah,
yeah.
cool. So what's the story behind E.Stohlman, and what kind of challenges did you face when you were setting up the brand?
Oh, uh, a lot of it was trial and error because I mean I've helped people along the way of, hey, you've already come up with your design and everything, let's just make it. And then it was, hey, you know before you get there, what do you need to do? You have to, business wise, you actually have a business plan. You have to get funding for it. Where do you want your brand to be? Where are you spending the money once you have it? And I think that's really where I struggled the most, is because I've never done it before. So it was just, hey, where do we start? Where do we source the parts? What case material do I want them to be in? So that was the real struggle up front. Getting it the design wise, I think the because getting into watchmaking and everything, vintage is really where I got my start and loved vintage watches. So you can tell kind of by the case style that that's really where I took a lot, really from the 50s. Um, that's really where the era that I liked the most, and I wanted to reincorporate. And a lot of the 50s era stuff was it's very small. So bringing that back, I think, was was where I wanted the brand to be. And I think because I'm not very rough on watches as a watchmaker. Um, I think that's also kind of why I wanted that feel of, on my first run of watches, I did silver cases, so 925 silver watches, and that really harkens back to World War One, World War Two. A lot of wristwatches were in sterling silver. Steel was hard to get. It was easy to repair, and it's a precious metal that isn't going to be the price of gold, where you start out at $10,000 for a brand new gold watch. So it's kind of a more traditional way of getting into uh, making my own watch brand. So even by the name, old pocket watches, they had the name of the watchmaker, the name of the watch designer. E. Howard is one a pocket watch that I really like the designs of. So that's kind of really where I started out.
Cool. Uh, and do you have any sort of watch models in front of you that we can show to the viewers?
Sure. So I have two right in front of me. One is one of the stone dial ones that I think is just super fun. It's the malachite dial, and it's in the silver case. And what I did with it is, because it's a number one, and I'm thinking about doing this for all of my number one models, is matching the bezel to the dial in stones. So this is emeralds all the way around the bezel, and a malachite dial. It's kind of a little bit hard to see there, but it's
Yeah,
39
I'll
millimeters.
put I'll put the picture on the screen
Okay.
when I do the editing.
So, and I matched the crown to the dial. Um, I matched the band. So this is one that I think is a lot of fun. And then because of the vintage style of it, the watch ride's a little bit bigger, is bigger lugs. I went back to the a little bit smaller than the original piece that I modeled off of. So this guy is actually in 904L steel. It's a ladies model. There are no pictures of it yet. Um, it's a white mother of pearl with let's see if I can get that a little better. Starburst laser etched into it and black numerals. Um, white mother of pearl in the crown as well to match the dial. So trying something a little bit new size with that guy. So it's 2 weeks old basically. So
Yeah,
that's
I love the
something.
bracelet.
Yep. So that's a beads of rice bracelet. It adds a little bit of heft to the watch, but it'll also fit really nicely on a leather band, 18 millimeter width on that one. So definitely more of a vintage size.
Yeah, I think that's the thing I like about vintage, like the modern vintage watches, that they still look vintage, but they are a bit on the bigger side. Because
Mhm.
I normally like minimum like 39, 40 millimeter style.
Right. Yeah, and that's really where I started. My brand was 39 millimeters. It's a great size for a dress watch, a great size for pretty much any watch. But I've had a lot of ladies, I've had a lot of men saying, "Hey, this ride's really big. I'd like something a little bit smaller." And I've been wearing this one around, and I really like it. It's 34 millimeter, so it's definitely right at that kind of unisex size, and so far I really like it.
Yeah,
So
cool. And I did see one of the latest posts on your Instagram as well, the one with the marble dial.
yes, so the one with the marble dial, that one I'm currently working on. It is still packed away in my luggage, but that one actually has only marble around the outside and kind of a line pattern, double sunk into the center. That one I'm also going to. It has a red crown, red inlaid resin crown, and a will have a red second hand. That I it's a very pretty watch. So, but that's one also coming out later next year.
Cool. And what kind of movement do you use in your watches?
So the movement it's based on a 2836, so that's the day and date complication. It's one that Maryland Watchworks puts together and regulates in house, and then I'm also Maryland Watchworks, so we put together the movement, and then I put together the watches. We regulate it as to plus or minus 10 typically, um, and change the rotor. We make sure that uh, the we black out the bridges and change the screw color depending on what a brand wants. So, it's pretty fun. It's not uh, super unique because it's based on that at a movement, but it's a really reliable movement. So,
Cool. So if someone from the viewer wanted to check out your watches, uh, where should they go?
uh, you can Google my name, Eugene Stohlman or E.Stohlman. That's my at on everything. I'm not really very active on Twitter. I am on there, but usually Instagram is where the new stuff comes up first. Website, estohlman.com or Estohlman Watch Company. And if you have any questions, E.Stohlman Watch Company at Gmail. I'm the one that's answering it. So, I try my best to stay on top of everything, but emails, they're always coming in.
Yeah. I'll put all the links in the descriptions as well. So make sure you check out all the links.
Sure.
Cool. So finally, to wrap things up, what advice would you give someone who wants to start their own watch brand?
Ooh, I would really start with something that uh, you like, that you would wear, starting with the design from that element. Because if you try to sell something that you don't really like, it's going to be a lot harder, because you're going to have to talk yourself into it as well as the person you're trying to sell it to. Uh, but also, as a watchmaker to begin with, remember that sometimes you're going to need to repair things. So you're going to have to set aside a little bit more money to begin with to order slightly extra parts, just in case something goes wrong. Not necessarily saying it will, but you want to make sure that that you're not making the customer wait for the watch that they just ordered. Then it's going to be, making sure you have enough money to market. And that's where I think a lot of people or a lot of brands like myself just we we spent everything up front making it the best watch that we can, and then we're going, hey, we have this watch, but we don't really have the funds to build the website. You have to do it yourself. You market it. Okay, how do I market? Where do I get that from? So I think actually having that plan on where I'm spending money and how much I'm spending, because starting with marketing, it's, you don't know how much you're going to have to spend to get that conversion rate.
Yeah,
So, you're just kind of, especially starting out, you don't know what the customer base for your watch is going to do. So you're going to have to look at other brands. Hey, what are you doing? How are you doing this? Um, you know, uh, take look at some other, smaller micro brands and be like, hey, how am I always seeing them in my feed? Where are they spending the money? Are they getting clicks at all? Do you see them selling? So I think that's a real way of kind of preliminarily starting and having a really, a great idea on why you want to do your watch the way you did it. uh, because that's the first question you're going to get asked is, well, why did you do this and not this? Why did you use a aluminum bezel versus a ceramic bezel? Why is there a domed crystal and not a flat one? So, um, I mean, and it's okay to say the answer is because I like it, um, I think that's where a lot of brands and people don't just say, well, that I like it. Why can't I just do it that way because I like it? Why do I have to do it because of a special, storyline that I made up from the 1920s?
yeah,
Why not just be like, hey, I thought it looked great, so we did it. People like it. I like it, and I think sticking to your guns on doing something because you like it is a legitimate reason to do a variant or something. So, yeah,
yeah. I think that's right because at the end of the day, watch is an accessory,
exactly.
and
Nobody
it
really,
needs to look nice.
yeah, it needs to look nice. You got to like looking at it because, you have your phone, you have your smartwatch, and you do get tired of being connected all the time. But nobody ever comes up and goes, "Hey, I really like your smartwatch." They,
Yeah,
it's also a conversation starter. So, having something unique on the wrist, I think, really harkens to that. Somebody goes, "Oh, what are you wearing?" You're like, "Oh, well, this is a brand that not everybody's heard about. I really like they're doing this." So, yeah, I think having it to where you like it, to your customer likes it, it really conveys that. Uh, the design element that you're going for.
yeah. I think that's one of the reason why I'm sort of more inclined towards micro brands because
Uh,
they are making unique watches, and like you said, they are conversation starters, and you have things to talk about because people generally don't know about micro brands,
yeah.
and
Well,
that's
so
why.
I totally agree with you on there, and that's why I think micro brands and independent brands are really pushing the watch industry, and you can kind of see that in the bigger brands starting to come out with unique dials again, things like that. But because micro brands do such limited numbers, they're design is able to change a lot quicker, to where so many customers come out and say, hey, we really like this, and the micro brand's like, hey, that's what I'm working on right now. I'm only doing 100 pieces, and then you're able to test the market, see if it sticks. And I think you can see, even here in Maryland, there's or the Maryland area, there's so many watch brands that are doing so many different unique things. Like, and you can see some of them really, really catching on with their unique style, where you're able to pick out, hey, that's a Sal right over there. Hey, that's an E.Stohlman over there, more of a dress watch, more of a tool watch, where, or a LeSabier, one that, he does some avant-garde things where, you look at it, you're like, oh man, that's crazy. I've not seen that before.
Yeah.
So I think you're right on the micro brands being unique, and also kind of pushing and leading the way that of the watch world that bigger brands are starting to copy.
Yeah, I think in my opinion, the bigger brands are only, the way I see it is like they're just relaunching the old models with twists.
Yeah. Well, that's where a lot of the customer base wants, is they want more of a vintage watch. They want more of a classy, something that, yeah, they're like, hey, this came out in 1972. I can't find it anymore, but I don't want to spend $4,000 to $8,000 on getting one and then having to have it serviced. I want to, I don't even care. I'll buy the quartz model because I really, really like the style. And I think, that's a real way of those customers becoming more of a micro brand customer, because they're like,
Yeah,
hey, I can't find this anymore, but I found all of these brands, or I found, hey, I searched Seiko and Island Watch came up, but they have all these other ones I've never heard of. Why not
yeah,
try one of these that kind of looks the same but a little bit different?
yeah, definitely. That's why I've started to sort of buy more of micro brands for my collection.
Yeah.
Uh,
And yeah, and looking at that collection, uh, you can be like, hey, I can kind of see where he went, or you can be like, hey, he just drew something up brand new that I've never seen before. And I find that people are always like, um, hey, I want something new, and everybody's always pushing something new, and then a microbrand comes out with that, you've never seen it before, watch new, and nobody buys it. They're like, oh, you should have done this, and you're like, but you wanted something new. And I think that's where you get the flexibility of the microbrand to be able to do, hey, we're just doing 25 pieces, we're just doing 100 pieces, and not breaking the bank, to say.
yeah, cool.
Yeah.
That's a really good advice for anyone who wants to start a new brand. Uh,
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, yeah, I mean, I try. I'm always, and a lot of micro brands, I think that they're really open to helping out. So, send us an email, be like, hey, man, I'm stuck here. What would you do? Or, I really want to start this brand up. What marketing advice you have? Most of us are very open to, trying to help you out, and just whether it's you need someone to, bang your head against, being like, hey man, I'm having this one design element, it's killing me, what would you do? And most of us are like, hey man, here's what I did, or here's what I ran into when I tried to do the same thing.
yeah,
you know uh, the microbrand world is a lot more open, I think, than a lot of the corporate brands on trying to figure stuff out and helping each other out.
yeah. I do agree that the watch community is really helpful,
Yeah,
especially
at least we try to be.
yeah, especially for someone like me who's just starting out.
Yeah.
Most of the micro brands have reached out to them. They've never said like, "Oh, we don't have time," or they've all been really supportive.
Yeah. And I think, smaller companies helping out smaller companies, and one of my favorite Facebook groups is Watchmakers Helping Watchmakers, because you don't know whether you've seen that issue before or you've seen it many times and this person's only seen it once. You're always trying to help somebody out because it'll, maybe they'll run into something that you're having an issue with,
Yeah.
and they'll have the answer where you don't have to spend, 2 months trying to figure it out. You type them an email and they're like, hey man, that took me 2 months to figure out. Now it's going to take you 5 minutes.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me my software development community, because we
Mhm.
always run into problems and we always find there's a community on Stack Overflow that all people always post their problems and solutions.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, always reach out. Like, you'll always run into somebody that doesn't have time, or you know is is too busy and can't help. But usually we're, hey, I may not know the answer, but Alan from Sal will probably know the answer, or you know, um, Dorenzo from Switzerland's going to know the answer. So we're all always running into unique watches and you know different issues along the way.
Yeah, definitely. But yeah, thanks for joining us today. It's been fun, and look forward to seeing more of your watches.
Yeah, sounds good. I'm happy we made the time. So don't have too much fun out there, all right?
Cool. Thank you.
All right. Have a good one.